more, better, now, right? We want it all, but maybe that's not what we really need. Faster speeds up, but fasting points up, and that's elevating perspective. Hold fast. That's our topic on this episode of the Educators Among Us podcast.
Welcome to the Educators Among Us podcast, where we share motivational messages and inspiring stories for and about educators. Your host, Scott Barron, is author of the critically acclaimed book, Love 'Em and Lead 'Em, and provides powerful insights and wisdom for those who heed the call to teach, coach, lead, and serve at all levels of education.
This is Scott Barron, and I'm really honored to be your host for the Educators Among Us podcast, a very special program designed for those who serve in all types of schools, at all age levels, and in all roles. It takes a team, and it's a wide range of skills and contributions that are made so that schools and other learning organizations can change lives. That's what educators do, right? We get to speak into their hearts and their minds and even their souls, and speak a word of encouragement, of perspective, of guidance, and of knowledge, and especially of wisdom. And that's a big part of our influence and modeling and teaching and coaching and guiding and all the different things we do, feeding and caring. And there's just so many people that are a part of what makes schools so special. And we're thankful for your dedication to that work and just being there for the people that are in your sphere of influence. You know, it's as we go through the year, we hit those moments when we get anxious. There's so many things to be done, and things speed up, and we, we're going. What are you worried about? What is it that's wearing you down? What's speeding you up to the point that it has you harried and uncomfortable and stressed out? It's important to be able to reflect on that, because we go through those stages and sometimes we lose perspective. There's all these things that are going on, and we have to check ourselves. We have to take those moments to pause, to intentionally kind of turn some things off and maybe think about it differently. Sometimes we would say, as things are getting faster, maybe we need to fast. By fasting and watching, the flesh is brought into subjection, the spirit strengthened, and the heart made clean. Thomas A. Kempis shared that insight, that wisdom, that sometimes we have to stop. We have to fast and watch. Right? Now, fast that's a multi-purpose word. We use that word, particularly in English, to mean a lot of things, right? It's a word that has important implications for everyone, especially for those who teach and coach and guide like you. Right? Speed is only one meaning of the word, where we can also hold fast. We can stay firm. We can stay fixed. We can be persistent in our purpose and our calling, right? That's another meaning of the word fast. We can ride the fast lane, but it will surely make you lose your mind. If you know, you know, right? We can fasten our seatbelt. We can remain steadfast, and we can fast from what is desired. Fasting is sometimes a topic we don't talk about much, but as a practice, it's a practice of self-discipline that is most vital. And yet it's a use of the word that we typically maybe avoid. Fasting over time has been a very useful practice. Fasting, said Dietrich Bonhoeffer, it helps us discipline the body so that obedience becomes possible. It's a way to remember. It's a way to reflect. It's a way as well to maybe challenge some of our assumptions, right? Because we sometimes will practice fasting because it exposes what is controlling our minds and behaviors. It gives us a chance to check our assumptions, say, wait a minute, right? And it's kind of an odd word to say we're going to fast and we're going to slow down, right? But we're we're going to fast sometimes and figure out what is causing maybe some of this anxiety, some of this pain, some of these points that I'm just uncomfortable, right? Fasting from food, for example, for centuries has been a practice for physical and spiritual renewal, with that hunger reorienting us towards humility and dependence. Right? It's funny how it works, but sometimes when we stop eating all the food and in some places, where we have such an abundance, we have such access for many of us, others not so much. But sometimes those of us that have the abundance will say, well, I'm starving. I'm so hungry. And it's like, and we're using that word kind of carelessly, right? Because you want to see starving? I can show you starving. You're not starving, right? I mean, there's a perspective that we gain when we fast, when we remember, when we feel some of those hunger pains. It reminds us, it keeps us humble, it checks our spirit, right? Fasting sometimes not only from food, but maybe from the other things that may be dominating our hearts, minds, and souls. Fasting from social media, for example, it's practiced by many to avoid the distraction and the vanity of it all. Right, being trying to be that hero that's posting all this stuff and how great our life is, or even reading about everybody else's posts and wondering, why isn't my life like that? There are people who get depressed or who get distracted or just they just lose out on what they could be because of some either covetousness or other things that are just discouraging. Right? Fasting from social media, even to regain some of our time and less distraction. There's some that argue that there's actually a decrease in our brain function by some of that addiction. Fasting from certain people. Maybe some people there in where you are and maybe in your life that you need to take a break. You need to kind of step back and call a timeout and say, let me kind of have some space here. Right? Fasting from certain people or habits can help limit their negative influence. There are other habits, fasting from television, fasting from other habits that maybe just, they're taking us away from our purpose. They're causing us to feel or to think or to be what we really don't want to be. Such voluntary denial, it tends to reveal hidden dependencies. It helps us see maybe what's really going on. It sometimes those hidden cravings and those anxieties. It's a reality check. It's a spirit check. It's a soul check, right? Ezra 8:23 says, "So we fasted, and we sought our God concerning this matter, and he listened to our entreaty." He listened to us. He listened to what we were asking for. Once discomfort becomes confused with necessity, we lose our vital capacity for deferred gratification. Now, that's an important one, right? We lose our capacity to wait. And when we're able to just pick up our device and order things off Amazon or other things and have it sometimes the same day, right? I mean, instantly we can think of something and say, oh, I need that. I really need that. But, we know that's not really true, right? Delayed gratification is a very important skill. Fasting is our conscious choice of soul restoration. It's taking a moment, it's taking a day, it's taking sometimes multiple days to stop our dependency on food or other things and be able to recover, to have a chance for ourselves to see what's really important, to see the truth, right? Because we're all facing inner truths is hard. We all have to face that because we so easily become overconfident experts. And of course, in academia, that's a real temptation, right? Becoming overconfident experts. Sometimes we lose our curiosity in favor of confidence, and that's a dangerous path. In humility, we can remember that we don't actually know better, and we don't know more. We're willing to acknowledge that we're humble, we have so much to work on, and we can learn with other people. We can take feedback. We can make adjustments. We can grow. Right? Fasting restores an inner steadfastness that allows other disciplines to emerge, right? Restraint of our tongue and knowing the importance of our words and how our words, especially in education, they can sometimes change lives and even generations, right? Patience in conflict, another very important discipline that can emerge in fasting. Knowing how to think through things, even to pray through things, that gives us a perspective that it's hard to gain otherwise, and especially wisdom in decision-making. Because what really distinguishes highly effective educators isn't their knowledge, it's their wisdom. So hold fast. Hold fast with purpose this week, my friend, renewing your mind, your body, and your spirit to be faithfully attentive. Sure, as we get to towards the end of the school year, everybody's, let's go fast. We got to speed up. We got to get through. But being willing to pause, slow down, and fast. It's a huge advantage, and hopefully you're able to use that as a way to regain your perspective and the intensity of it all. So a coaching question for you to consider as you go through this week: did I do my best to hold fast today? Did I do my best to hold fast today? Love him and lead him, my friend. This is Scott.
Thank you for joining us for the Educators Among Us podcast and for your courageous commitment to this noble calling. We get you and the challenges of this work. To stay connected with this community, be sure to subscribe to our podcast and weekly encouragement at educatorsamongus.com.